This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is November 18th, 2024. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined once again by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what is going on, my man?
Jonathan, another week is here. Excited for this one. Magic still haven't lost since the last time we talked, so that's always exciting. Going to be maybe more challenging week this week out west, but hey, no challenge too big for this team. Glad to be with you.
Hey, last Sunday when we recorded and we did the week ahead, we did both say 3-0.
That's true.
And here we are. They went 3-0 on the week. So that's awesome. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. Only one game since the last episode, so we're going to talk a little bit about, well, probably a good amount about the home win against Philadelphia to close out the homestand. Magic did not give up 100 points at all during that homestand, which is just crazy to think about in today's NBA. And the fact that they were able to sweep that homestand, yes, maybe not the highest level of competition, but given the injuries, given the way that they have had to really reimagine the way that they play, especially offensively, and they seem like they're figuring some things out, especially one gentleman in particular who, again, we will talk about. But these have been rumored for months. We didn't want to really speak on them until they were official. We know that the organization and the social media team, they put a lot of time and effort into these types of announcements and releases. But earlier this week, I think it was Wednesday, as a matter of fact. It was Thursday. Mm-hmm. There we go. That makes sense why we didn't talk about it on the last episode then. On Thursday, the Magic's City Edition jerseys for this year were finally revealed. And they are basically a white version of the Kingdom on the Rise jerseys that we've gotten the last 2 years. Actually, I didn't even realize, but I'm wearing that themed hat right now. That was not done on purpose. But Kevin, they have been revealed. We had seen, mock-ups and leaks and all of those types of things. We had an idea of what they were going to be. Now that we've seen them officially and we feel comfortable talking about them, what are your thoughts on these jerseys here?
Now, first off, we haven't seen them on the court yet, so I reserve the right to change my mind.
Fair.
Because there's a difference between a photo shoot and, seeing it in action. But what I see so far, I like for sure. I think it's definitely cool. I love how it ties back into pinstripes. That's pretty cool. Some people don't love like the font and everything, and they ask, what does it have to do with Orlando or Central Florida? And there's several different explanations for that. You can either go, like you said, the medieval like looking thing, which we kind of stuck with for the last couple of years, or you can go back to Orlando's like cattle roots and everything like that. Central Florida's, roots. And so it kind of looks Western and, farming. And I don't know. There's a lot of ways to go. I love it. If I had to dock it, it's still Cowboys-esque, so that's tough. That's tough for me to don that, to put that stuff on. But if the Cowboys didn't exist, this would be maybe like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, I think they're awesome. But yeah, I'm a big fan of them. What did you think about them?
The thing that I will say is, other than the Miami Heat, the Cowboys are the franchise of sports that I hate, more than any other franchise on the face of the earth. So I feel like if anybody would and should hate that, it would be myself. And I understand where people are coming from, but it's not. It's in the neighborhood of the Cowboys, but it's not quite like the next door neighbor. If it was the next door neighbor, I would really have a problem with it. This is more like, the first house that you see when you come through the gates, and then the Cowboys live all the way in the back and have that really ugly, obnoxious house that, everybody hates.
Yeah.
But for me, these are as clean gets. I'm on the Magic social media page right now and just going through these, and in each type of environment and in the different lighting, it all looks fantastic. The only thing that maybe I'm not thrilled about these jerseys, and I haven't been with the previous iterations, is just the navy blue. And I know that's where people draw the comparisons to the Dallas Cowboys, but just overall, the mainly white jerseys, they're just super clean, and I can't wait to see them on the floor. Are we bringing back the City Edition floor?
Yep, same one. Yep.
I'll be looking forward to seeing what these look like on that. my favorite photo from this shoot that the Magic posted was the one of Tristan like sitting in the throne.
Yeah.
Like the dude just literally looks like a Game of Thrones character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's tall and handsome and great at basketball and, you know, all those things. Like, you know, forget that guy. But yeah, like to me, these jerseys are just super clean. I feel like I don't want to say these are the most polarizing of the three that we've had, but I don't remember like people either just blatantly loving them or hating them. And that's kind of where it feels like I haven't seen that many people like, oh, these are fine. It's either like these are amazing or these are terrible.
Right.
Which in previous years, I felt like there was much more of like, oh, they're okay, I guess. Which is, I think, where we fell with the first iteration of these, you know, first two iterations of these jerseys that like they're okay. Like we weren't going crazy. I have always loved them leaning into the magic and like the mystical, you know, kind of theme. So I'm really a big fan of that. But yeah, I think these are super clean and I can't wait to see them on the floor.
I'll also add that I just love that they've brought back again like that, you know, like chain link, you know, armor type little, it's just like a subtle thing, but it's got a little bit of like texture to it. It's not just like a print onto the shirt, you know, it's got, like I said, a little texture to it, little shine, little shimmer. I think that looks super clean. So to see that on white, I'm definitely excited to see that, especially like I said, under the lights this Saturday, by the way, is when they'll debut those against the Pistons. So definitely excited to see how they look at Kia Center.
And not only like the photos of the players wearing them in the promotional photos, like they look great, but there have been a few fans that I've seen on social media that have actually got their hands on these. And I'm going to have a really tough time deciding whose jersey of this do I want to get. You know, I have multiple Paolo jerseys. I think I have a Franz jersey in the Association White, which say what you want about the Association White on the floor. Like it's just if you're just throwing on the Association White with like a pair of black jeans and some nice sneakers, it's a super clean look.
Right.
I have a Jalen jersey. I have multiple Jonathan Isaac jerseys. Trying to think. I have a Cole Anthony jersey. I'm somewhere. I'm not ready to go KCP. Do I need another Jalen Suggs jersey? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you do.
You could always use another Paolo or another Franz jersey. Do I want to go Anthony Black though? Like there's a lot of this is going to be a tough decision for me. Where are you going?
Well, I'll tell you where I'm going in a second, but AB jersey of that white, that'd be clean. That'd be clean. Plus he's from Dallas, and so you know. No, just kidding.
No. We're not doing.
I'm going Tristan da Silva. That's what I'm going to do because I've been doing this for a while. I didn't do it last year, and I'm full of regrets. But I've been doing this for a while where I get, you know, the jersey that's just limited to that season. So, you know, a city edition jersey, and I get it for a rookie. And so it's like the commemoration of their rookie season. You get this jersey that was exclusive for the year. So I've gone through, I've done that with, you know, Franz. I did it before that with Chuma, which I regret because that was a freaking sick jersey and I ruined it on Chuma.
Well, but as I've, you know, aged and, you know, hopefully grown in wisdom at least a little bit, I have a hard time buying these guys jerseys that we're not sure they're going to be around long term, right? Like,
but do you think that about Tristan though?
I don't know. I would love to think that he's going to be here for, you know, 10 years, but I have an Evan Fournier jersey. I have a Victor Oladipo jersey. I have an Elfrid Payton jersey.
I get it.
Do I have a Chuma Okeke jersey? I don't think I have a Chuma jersey. I do have
you.
a Markelle Fultz jersey.
Right.
Your Chuma jersey is your earned jersey from a few years ago.
It is, yeah.
Mine is a Markelle Fultz, right? Like it's unfortunate, really. I think I have the classic edition jersey from 2018-2019, the blue with white pinstripes. I'm pretty sure that's a Markelle Fultz jersey for me because that was the year that we traded for Markelle Fultz.
Right.
So it's like I have all of these jerseys where everybody loves a good throwback, right? And just like a very obscure jersey, but how much love am I going to get for wearing like a Elfrid Payton Adidas Pride jersey, the gray sleeve jersey? How much love am I going to get for that? So my thing is like, God forbid Tristan da Silva isn't here in 2 or 3 years. You're going to be like, oh, I have this other jersey now that I probably won't ever wear again.
Right, but if he's here for 12, I get to say, yeah, I got this jersey from his rookie season. It's a total gamble. I get it.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
And like I bought a Darren Waller Giants jersey last year. The first year on the team, I thought he was going to be here at least a few years. Now that dude is gone. I have a freaking Daniel Jones Giants jersey that I will never wear again. I have a Saquon Barkley Giants jersey that I will never wear again.
Yeah.
I have probably 25 jerseys total between my beloved sports teams in my closet, and probably 75% of them I just can't wear anymore.
Yeah. But they're nice.
Part of that is because a lot of them are mediums, but you don't have to talk about
that. I feel you on that. But hey, it's a nice walk down memory lane. Sometimes a little painful, but it's memorabilia. That's kind of what happens. But yeah, I'm gonna go Tristan.
It's hard seeing how clean these jerseys are. I'm like, you know what? I don't need a Paolo in that. I don't need a Franz. I don't need a Jalen in that.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be time for another JI jersey. I think the last JI jersey that I have was a medium, and I don't think I have like a single JI jersey that I can comfortably fit into these days. I don't know. It's another few weeks until I'm going to be, in the building again. So I've got some time to think about it, luckily.
There you go. And hey, sometimes you might just have to get two. We'll see.
I don't know. In this economy, I don't know.
I feel you.
All right. Looking forward to those again. Like Kevin mentioned, they're going to make their debut on Saturday when the Magic are back home taking on the Detroit Pistons. So we are looking forward to that. We are also looking forward to our group night coming up on December 19th when the Magic take on the Oklahoma City Thunder on TNT, because TNT decided to move our December 3rd game.
For now, it's on TNT. You never know these days.
For now, it's on
they'll
TNT.
Yank all kinds of games.
I'm hoping that they don't do that twice to us in the span of 16 days. But right now, that game is supposed to be on TNT, and we're going to be sitting in sections 101 and 102. That's going to be our first group night of the year. The first 100 tickets sold get access to pregame warmups, and as we are recording this, roughly 8:40 Sunday night, there is one ticket left in that first 100. So if you head over to fivo-enterprise.com/event/6man65, we're going to have that link in the podcast description and the YouTube description. If you're watching on YouTube, you go ahead and click that link and get your ticket. Again, there is one ticket left in that first 100 to join us for pregame warmups. And you do have a week left. The deadline to purchase tickets is going to be November 25th at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to join us for that night, be sure to go ahead and get your tickets. Again, you can find the link in the description of the podcast episode and on YouTube. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this week's weekly state of the Magic. This week, the Magic went 3-0, as Kevin and I predicted, with wins over Charlotte, Indiana, and Philadelphia. Now at a record of 8-6, winners of 5 in a row, the Magic are sitting at third in the Eastern Conference. They're 6 games back of first place Philadelphia. That's probably going to be 6.5 games back in just a little bit, as Philadelphia, or I'm sorry, as Cleveland just closed out Charlotte. As a matter of fact, they're now 15-0. Good grief. We are 3 games back of Boston. We're a game up on the New York Knicks. We're a game and a half up on Atlanta and Miami. 2 games up on Detroit, Charlotte, and Indiana. 2.5 games up on Brooklyn and Chicago. 3.5 games up on Milwaukee. And as it is right now, we are first place in the NBA Cup East Group A, sporting a plus 37-point differential, Kev. Through a couple of games here, you're coming up in a couple of weeks. You've got Brooklyn and you've got the Knicks. And if you're able to split those last couple, you're probably going to be feeling pretty good. There's I think it's probably more likely than not than that game, which was supposed to be on TNT, by the way, on December 3rd in Madison Square Garden. That game will likely decide East Group A.
Yeah, as long as you take care of business in Brooklyn, which we did not do last year. Let the record show. That's how the Magic did not advance to the knockout stages of this tournament, because of the Brooklyn game. So, but if you take care of business in Brooklyn, not only does that game in New York at MSG potentially decide the group, there is a situation, Jonathan. If you take care of Brooklyn, again, we're a little ways ahead here. If you take care of Brooklyn, there's a situation where you could go into MSG, and as long as you don't lose by like 50 or something like that, you're going to have a good chance to be the wild card too. So because the Magic's point differential right now is plus 37, so let's say if they're able to beat Brooklyn by 10, 15, something like that, you could have a differential of plus 52. And so some other teams, maybe 50 is a stretch as far as losing to MSG. If you don't lose by 20 or whatever, you probably going to be the wild card too. So obviously a long way to go, but it gets very interesting. What we talked about on the last show, the fact that TNT changed the schedule, which is stupid. What we didn't talk about was something that happened after that. The fact that on Friday, both Memphis, at Tuesday, Memphis lost, Friday, Dallas lost, or maybe it's backwards. Either way, both teams have started their NBA Cup 0-1. Why do I bring up Dallas and Memphis? That's weird, Kevin. Well, that's the matchup that TNT decided to put on in favor of the Magic and the Knicks. So that's what you get, NBA on TNT, or NBA, whoever decided that. This is your karma for taking the Magic and the Knicks off of that broadcast window, because now you get two teams that aren't going to probably have anything to play for on that Tuesday, instead of having a Magic Knicks matchup that will likely decide the group. So that's what you get. So take it.
That's what you get. The Magic are currently 25th in the NBA in offensive rating, with an offensive rating of 108.3, which means the Magic per 100 possessions are scoring 108.3 points. And they are second in defensive rating as of 7 o'clock Sunday night. We were getting ready to record this episode with a defensive rating of 103.5, which means per 100 possessions played, the Magic are allowing their opponents to score 103.5 points. And the Magic are seventh in overall net rating with a positive net rating of 4.9, which means per 100 possessions, the Magic are outscoring their opponents by 4.9 points per game. Taking a look at the injury report, Paolo Banchero remains out with the torn oblique. We're hoping to get another update on him in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And who knows, hoping for good news, but we haven't gotten any updates so far. And Wendell Carter Jr. has been out the past 7 games with a left plantar fascia strain. Now, on the injury report for tomorrow's game in Phoenix, or today's game as you're listening to this on Monday, Wendell has been upgraded to doubtful. So he's kind of like officially in that day-to-day range. So we'll see how much longer we are going to be without Wendell Carter Jr. Now, Kevin, before we jump into talking about this Philadelphia game, from Friday, and as awesome as that was, and we're going to talk about that a lot, I wanted to take a few minutes to give a player their flowers who has just been absolutely balling, and that is none other than our guy, Franz Wagner, and particularly what he's been doing over the last 7 games, really since getting healthy and getting back into the swing of things. And we've been talking about how, Franz Wagner belongs in the all-star conversation and get all-star consideration, especially if the Magic are playing well. And I think if the Magic are able to tread water until Paolo Banchero gets back, and if Paolo is able to really pick up right where he left off, the Magic should still find themselves squarely in the Eastern playoff race. Franz Wagner, I don't know if it's possible for him to keep up this level of play, especially once Paolo gets back and the usage and the playmaking and the shot attempts get divvied up a bit more evenly between those guys. But as of right now, Franz Wagner not only belongs in the all-star consideration, but he is playing at like an all-NBA type level the last 7 games. Had another fantastic performance on Friday against Philadelphia. 31 points, 43.5% from the floor, 5 of 11 from behind the arc. Just was shooting the crap out of the ball. Had 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 0 turnovers in 40 minutes. Just a masterclass from Franz Wagner. I wanted to put a little spotlight on his last 7 games. Over the last 7 games, since he's really gotten fully healthy, he's averaging 27.4 points, 6.1 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 1.6 steals, shooting splits of 46% from the floor, 32.7% from behind the arc, shooting 86.4% from the free throw line. Over the last 7 games, he is one of 5 players averaging at least 27, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 of 5 of Giannis, Jason Tatum, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Franz Wagner. And of those 5, there's only 1 player who is also averaging less than 2 turnovers per game. Kevin, who would you guess that is?
Is Jokic?
It's Franz.
Oh, Oh, I thought you were
Franz
saying
is the
one
only
other. So he's
guy.
the only one. Oh, wow.
Franz is the only guy of that 5 putting up 27-6-5 over the last 7 games while also averaging less than 2 turnovers per game.
Wow. That's so Jonathan told me this before we started recording. He's like, hey, I'm digging up some nuggets, on Franz. I thought it was me like, yeah, he's averaging 27. To hear those numbers alongside those names, that's kind of crazy. Like that's pretty crazy. And wow, you got me shooketh, Jonathan. That's pretty cool. And it makes sense, right? Like when you think about these games and everything Franz has had to do because basically even with Paolo, our offense is tough, but without him it's tougher. But wow, to hear his name in that sentence, in that group is pretty cool, but also not that surprising. Like it's been a really special stretch for Franz, and quite literally the Magic would not be on this 5-game win streak without him. We'd be lost without him. Jonathan, it's time for this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, where we pick our favorite slam dunk from this week. And it's spicy hot, just like Jam Hot Chicken. This week, it is from that Friday game against Philadelphia. 2 minutes and 13 seconds left in this game. Eric Gordon with a terrible pass, ill-advised, lazy pass. Of course, Jonathan Isaac is going to pick that up. He eats that for breakfast. Leads the break, jumps and leaves his feet with a no-look pass to Mo Wagner. Unfortunately, it's a little errant pass. Otherwise, Mo would have had a nice dunk. But instead, he's forced to have a tough layup under the basket. But that leads to Jonathan Isaac flying through the lane for the putback to pretty much put this game to bed. That gave the Magic a 13-point lead with 2:04 remaining. And like I said, pretty much put this game on ice to seal a lovely home victory for the Magic. That is this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. Jam Hot Chicken, the proud sponsor of the Six Man Show. They're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. It's an amazing place with amazing food, and they're diehard Orlando Magic fans, which is why we can fully recommend it to you. You can find them at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. They're in beautiful Winter Park. Why don't you follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media? By the way, follow them on Instagram, and you'll get hungry every time they post. It's a lot of fun. You should do it. Also, you can check out jamhotchickenfl.com to access their menu, online ordering, and all kinds of other stuff. Again, check them out, Jam Hot Chicken in Winter Park. And when you do, just let them know that the Six Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by DC Magic, Irish Magic Mike, Carson Tulo, Paolo and Franz's warmth. I don't know why there's an exclamation mark on that. But also 50 on Yo Head. Who are these folks? These are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. Patrons are the folks that help financially support the Six Man Show. If you would like to join the Patreon as well, you can head over to patreon.com/the Six Man Show. We have different level of benefits depending on what works best for you. But every little bit help us do every episode, every in-person event, all the equipment that we use. Literally, we would not be able to do this on a week in and week out basis without the support of our patrons. So if you would like to help us join in on our mission to just continue to help to grow this Orlando Magic fan base, again, you can find us over at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Every bit helps. And let's get back to the episode. Do you remember about 3 years ago in roughly 2 weeks, 3 years, 2 weeks ago today, there was a game that the Magic played in Minnesota.
Yeah.
On November
3
1st.
years? Really?
That was 3 years in 15.
Gosh.
As we're recording this, 3 years and 16 days ago, the 8th game of the year, where Franz Wagner really announced himself to the basketball world and to Magic fans specifically, where he had 28 points in 30 minutes, 10 of 18 from the floor, 5 of 9 from behind the arc, 3 of 5 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Had that emphatic dunk over Karl Anthony Towns and some other guys. And you and I that night were like, this constitutes an emergency podcast. And we jumped on that night and sat and, talked about Franz Wagner for, 30, 40 minutes, whatever that was. A lot of you remember that performance. A lot of you remember that emergency podcast. And the fact that Franz is basically doing that every night now is absolutely ridiculous. Like the 5 of 11 from behind the arc. The way that he was shooting the ball was really exciting. The fact that he was he's feeling it so much, like he's just oozing with confidence. We've never seen him play at this level for this number of games in a row. And he's basically doing it out of necessity, not having Paolo Banchero. But when we drafted Franz, there was a lot of people that were very negative about the pick. You and I weren't over the moon about it, I would say. You can go back and watch our draft reaction from that night at the draft party at then Amway, now Kia Center.
You can join all the Raptors fans who still watch it.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, just scroll through the comments and see how many Raptors fans have commented on that video.
Clowns.
Which, I'd still rather have the guys that we have over Scotty Barnes. I really would, as funny as that is, but that we even have to say that. But I immediately tried to, make the pick okay, saying, we need forward depth. We've gotten so much more than forward depth out of this dude. And to think 3 years later, he's legitimately playing at an all-NBA level. And over the course of each offseason, after we've drafted Paolo Banchero, and we've talked to guys, I remember we had a conversation, I think it was me and Luke, either maybe the offseason before last year, talking about all right, we know what we have with Paolo Banchero, right, after his rookie year. And if he's a guy who can end up being a top 10 to 12 guy in the league, usually you need one of those guys, and then you need another guy who's capable of being a top 20 to 25 player. And the question has always been, can Franz reach that level? And I think the answer to that question is emphatically yes. Is he always going to be the guy that does that on a night in and night out basis? No. But having a guy that is capable of playing at that level on any given night and is showing us that he's able to do this as a number one option. Make no mistake about it. He is the number one option on this team right now. Defenses are treating him as such. His teammates are referring to and deferring to him as such. And this guy has just so incredibly blown all of our expectations out of the water. And the fact that it feels like he's still getting better and is still only 22 years old.
22, yep.
Is just, we say this all the time, but the future of this franchise has never been brighter than it is right now.
Never. And there's been I wouldn't say a big question. There have been some people that have asked the question,
fairly.
Yeah. Franz has been doing this, with Paolo out. What is this going to look like when Paolo comes back, right? That's been a question that some people are saying. And some people are like, well, Franz, what if Franz and Paolo both play at this crazy level every night, and while it's possible, well, there's that, but it's more so this idea that the way NBA basketball works, that's not going to be how it goes, right? There's only one basketball. This whole idea of usage rate, Paolo is going to have a high usage rate. Right now, Franz has a high usage rate because that's kind of what we have to do to survive. And so obviously they can't both have an insanely high usage rate. That's not how it works. However, and we've made this comparison so many times, and it sometimes gets old, but look at a team like the Boston Celtics, right? The reason the Boston Celtics have worked is because this is exactly what they have. They have two guys who also just happen to be large wings who are incredibly capable any given night to do amazing things and to single-handedly lead a team to a win, right? That's enough to make you a good team. Obviously, the supporting cast makes them a great team, but what makes them an elite team is that also on any given night, they can both go off, right? They can both go off, and then the opponent's screwed. They're toast. And so that has happened a few times in the course of, the 2+ years now of Paolo and Franz. But this section right now of Paolo being out, I feel like has been so good for Franz to not only obviously show the world what he can do, but kind of remind himself, oh yeah, I'm also him. Paolo is him, but I can also be a him, if that makes sense. And so when those moments come up throughout the season, whether it's Paolo's having an off night or, he joins Paolo and they both have an amazing game or whatever it is, that confidence will be there because he has single-handedly led this stretch, not just statistically, but now also in the win column. 5 straight wins, impressive performance, obviously on Friday in a huge game that we're getting ready to talk about. But all in all, the Paolo injury sucks, but I think it could be a big-time blessing in disguise for Franz.
Yeah, for me, now that we've seen, and to your point, like you sort of took the words out of my mouth there. Like this is a blessing in disguise for Franz, and not only Franz, but like other guys that have been stepping up as well, but Franz in particular. And the criticism and where I thought you were going, when I sort of said that people are barely asking the questions, what I thought you were going to say is that like Franz has been criticized in the past of like not showing up in big games or like not necessarily always showing up when he's needed. He's needed every night now. He's delivering on a nightly basis. But for me, it's when Paolo comes back. Obviously, Paolo is the guy. Like Paolo is the franchise guy. I almost said the franchise guy. But like, I don't necessarily want Franz taking a back seat to Paolo. I want him taking the passenger seat in that front row, right next to Paolo. And maybe those cars, like when you're a driving teacher, like, hey, Paolo's driving right now, but if he's getting a little tired, Franz can just jump in there and sort of take over the wheel and go from there. Like now we've seen Franz play at this level. We can't go back to, and there is going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, I think, when Paolo comes back, because Franz is so used to deferring to Paolo as he should, but he needs to defer just a little bit less. Like he has to have a better feeling of, okay, I can take advantage of this matchup here. It's my turn to go and get a basket, or I'm feeling it. It's my turn to be aggressive and go after a shot here. Where in the past, it just feels like he's just disappeared sort of too often when Paolo is doing his thing. And instead of it being like Paolo being the clear and, number one guy, and then Franz is like the unquestionable number two, although there's a sizable gap there. Like we really want these guys to be 1A and 1B, right? I think everybody feels comfortable saying that, like, if you need one shot, who's the guy that you feel most comfortable giving the ball to? It's going to be Paolo, because he's going to do one of three things. Either get a shot attempt that even if it's a difficult shot, he has the ability to make it. He's going to make a play for somebody else, or he's going to go to the free throw line and knock it down. And Franz is kind of like in that same vein right now. Like when the offense is sort of like sputtering, it's like, okay, we either need to get Franz back into this game, or Franz doesn't touch the ball in a couple of possessions. It's Franz time. So now that Franz has shown us that he's capable of this and capable of doing it at this level, I don't want to see him sort of regress when Paolo comes back. Like, you've shown us you can do this. We need this all the time now. You can't go back to, as crazy as it sounds, like to the Franz from before, because that guy was wicked good, but this dude is playing at like an all NBA level right now.
And it's funny, like, we sit on this show or people talk on Twitter like we're experts. We're not, obviously, but sometimes we pretend like we think we are or whatever. But this is such a Captain Obvious thing that we all saw. And so now we all look like geniuses, because everybody said Franz is playing really well everywhere except behind the 3-point line. And now all of a sudden he's knocking down his threes, and it has unlocked the monster that we currently see, right? And so it's amazing how something like that can just switch. And it's still not great. Like you said, he's averaging 33% over these, how many games that was, 7 games, 8 games, whatever you said. 33% isn't even all world. It's not even average in the NBA, but it is still, 10 points better than last year, 10 percentage points last year, or whatever it was. And just that much has unlocked, not just, obviously 3-pointers adding to his scoring total, but it adds to like the threat that he is to defenses. And so they're playing up on him on the 3 ball. And so he's driving past him and doing little floaters in the lane or getting to the rim or whatever. And it's just unlocked what we see Franz now. So obviously huge improvement for him shooting the basketball. It can get even better. And so definitely look forward to seeing that, maybe, like I said, getting better over the course of the season.
Franz Friday against Philadelphia was 5 of 11 from behind the arc. If you had to guess how many games last year Franz hit at least 5 threes, what would you guess?
2.
He had 1 all of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we're already here, right, and like he's knocking down shots, like if you look at the amount of games, I'm not going to sit here and count, but the number of games that Franz has had at least 6 attempts, or let's say at least 5 attempts from behind the arc, and shot 40% or better. He's already at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those games this year. And last year, like he may have had, I'm just scanning through here quickly. He might have had 6 or 7 of those last year. So like
right.
it's pretty, I feel very confident in saying like Franz is back, like shooting from behind the arc. Yeah. And okay, if you go 5 attempts, it's more than that. But if you go 6 attempts last year, like it's very few and far between he had games shooting above 40% from behind the arc. So like the early signs of Franz's shooting are just like, I'm not concerned about it anymore. Like he's going to figure it out. It's all going to be totally fine. But yeah, just wanted to take a few minutes here and just talk about Franz and how great he's been, because we probably haven't talked enough about how good Franz has been on the show here. All right, let's go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if this version of Franz isn't around, this Magic team is probably on a 10-game losing streak. Like legit. Like he has quite literally rescued what would have been a disaster, And so yeah, super grateful.
And hey, that's why you pay a guy max money. And right now, he is playing like a max player.
Absolutely.
So, all those people that were saying, oh, it's an overpay, it's this, it's that, like, you can just shove it. Talking about Friday night against the Philadelphia 76ers, this felt like it was going to be one of the bigger tests of the season for us. Yes, there was no Tyrese Maxey, but Joel Embiid is back. Paul George, they had rested the game before, not playing that second night of their back-to-back. And Jared McCain, the rookie for them, has just been playing out of his mind. And early on in this game, it did really feel like it was kind of going the way that we had expected it. The Magic were really dominating the non-Joel Embiid minutes, and the 76ers were dominating the Joel Embiid minutes, which was a problem for the Magic. But it sounds like we're just talking about the same game recently, the way that these things have been going. We're going to fast forward to the end of the third quarter. So what was that? With 2 minutes, 12 seconds left, Caleb Martin hits a 3 to give the 76ers a 72-64 lead in the third quarter. The 76ers did not score another field goal for about 7 minutes in this game. Let me go to the fourth quarter here. So their next field goal was a Jared McCain 3-point shot with 6 minutes, 42 seconds left in the fourth, where the Magic had already taken an 82-73 lead on a pair of Jalen Suggs free throws the possession before. So for 7 and some change, Philadelphia, the only offense they had was a Joel Embiid technical free throw that came off of Paolo Banchero chirping from the bench on Jalen Suggs. An offensive foul that he was called on a 3-point shot was ridiculous. Where I forget who the player guarding him was. I think it was Kelly Oubre.
Yeah,
clearly stepped underneath Jalen Suggs' foot and impeded his ability to land on the 3. There was another possession earlier in the half, I believe, or no, it was in the first half, where somebody had shot. The ball clearly comes off the rim. Goga Batadze goes to tip it in, and Paul George slaps the ball away when it's over the cylinder. They review it, and they call it offensive basket interference. It just 2 of the absolute worst botches of reviews that you could ever imagine having in this game. It was really ridiculous. But so Joel Embiid makes a technical free throw, and then Jared McCain hits the 3 a couple of minutes later. But yeah, basically 7 minutes where the Magic just decided this team is not scoring. And Philadelphia only scored 4 field goals over the last 14 minutes of this game, and the Magic end up winning this one 98-86. They win this one by 12. And we're getting to the point now where in years past, when we talk about the defense, to me it always felt like the run is coming for the Magic. No matter how much they were down by, in the third quarter, there was going to be a run, and then the Magic would make it close enough, and then really both teams could decide, hey, are we actually going to make this a game, or is the team that was up going to make another run, and the Magic just never really had enough to get over the hump? Now it's more of the Magic are just staying in striking distance of these teams, and they have this 6-7 minute run where they look like the greatest defensive team of all time, and the other team just simply can't score. And the Magic are able to muster up enough offense off of those turnovers and off of those stops to either get themselves back into the game or take the game over and basically end it. And the Magic just like, again, from the 2-minute and 12-second mark of the third quarter, really throughout the game, they just decided like, no, this is our game. We are ending it. You don't have a chance.
I think there needs to be a slogan for this team. Like, make it magic is, that's the corporate slogan. My slogan for this team is, we're not going to score much, but you're going to score less. That's kind of how it feels, especially, like using this game as an example. The fourth quarter on Friday against Philly, the Magic only scored 25 points in that comeback. They only scored 25, but they held Philly to 14, And so like in this NBA, 25 points in a quarter is rarely going to be what separates you from another team, right? Usually in this day and age, it's 35 or 40 points in a quarter means you've gone on a crazy run and you pulled away to win the game, but not with this team. I loved what Jonathan Isaac said on Sunday in his media availability after practice. He said, paraphrasing, but basically, he's like, I kind of feel like we're basically wearing these teams out. And so that in the fourth quarter, we've still got energy and they don't, right? And that's quite literally how every single one of the games during this homestand felt. The Magic held their 5 opponents on this homestand to an average of 18.6 points per fourth quarter. 18.6. That is disgusting. That is crazy. Holding 5 consecutive. You can talk about how bad they are. You can say all those things, but that's still an NBA team, and you held all of them to under 95. And held all of them to 18.6 points on average over those 5 games. And so it's just it's filthy stuff.
Last 5 games, all right, in terms of defensive rating, second place Memphis Grizzlies have a defensive rating of 101.3.
Oh.
Let's see. How far do we have to go here? And then the 9th place team over the last 5 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have a defensive rating of 112.0. Right. So roughly, what is that? That's like 10, 11 points, like somewhere in there.
Right.
So Memphis is at 101.3. Do you want to guess where the first place team is and who that team is over the last 5 games?
They'll have a good feeling of who it is. Is the number like 90?
It's 92.9 over the last 5 games, their defensive rating.
Ludicrous.
They have a positive net rating of 20.2 over the last 5 games. And listen, yes, we are homers, but we're never going to just be completely oblivious to the context. New Orleans, incredibly injured. Washington, incredibly bad. Charlotte, incredibly injured. Indiana, Philadelphia, pretty solid, right? Like, not completely whole, right? Like Philadelphia not having Tyrese Maxey, but like Jared McCain in this game was playing the Tyrese Maxey role.
Yeah, and also, they still had Paul George and Joel Embiid, and those guys got shut down.
Wait a minute. So, one of those guys might be cooked.
Yeah, brother.
Paul George might actually not be good anymore.
He looks bad.
Very bad. Looks bad, looks timid.
And the Indiana game, don't forget, they had a rest advantage. That was the second night of a back-to-back for the Magic. And the Pacers had been in Orlando since like Sunday or Monday or something like that. So there's no like excuses for that one. Like that's just a really good win. Again, Sixers really good win. And here's the thing, guys. Even if the Magic, these opponents during this home stretch were bad, the Magic not just took care of business. The 2 closest games were the 2 teams that didn't have excuses. The Indiana game and the Philly game. The other games, blowouts. So yeah, say they were bad teams. Okay, fine. You blow out bad teams, and that's what the Magic did. So it's not like we squeaked by with a victory or whatever. We took care of business, beat them by a lot. And the stats show it with those defensive ratings. That's crazy.
Real quick, Paul George, it's only 6 games, right? Coming off of the knee injury from the preseason. In 6 games, 30 minutes per game, 16.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.3 steals, 3.5 turnovers. He's shooting 39.8% from the floor and 31% from behind the arc. Not great. Now, he's not always been like the most efficient guy, but like usually just finds a way to make an impact, and it just didn't really feel like he made an impact in that one.
Raise your hand if you're glad we didn't throw $200 million at Paul George.
Good Lord. Man, we would be in absolute shambles right now with him playing the way that he's been. He was 4 of 15 from the floor in this game, but let's take a look at the box score. Franz Wagner, 31 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block. 0 turnovers in 40 minutes. Just completely ridiculous. Jalen Suggs, not the best offensive performance. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 5 turnovers again. The 4 or 5 turnover games, like we've got to find a way to knock those off. Mo Wagner, 14 points in almost 20 minutes. He was 5 of 7 from the floor. Jonathan Isaac, this is the best Jonathan Isaac game of the year so far. 11 points, 9 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, almost 25 minutes, 4 of 6 from the floor, 1 from 3 from behind the arc. Was just really good defensively, especially on Joel Embiid. Got some big rebounds in this game. And another game where Jonathan Isaac is playing more minutes, looking really good, helped contribute to this win. But ultimately, it just came down to defense. The Magic forced 16 turnovers off of Philadelphia, and it's 24 points off turnovers. For the Magic that they were able to convert those turnovers into. Just again, it just comes down to the last 14 minutes of the game, and the Magic saying you're not scoring. You shall not pass.
If you want to have a great 6 minutes and I think it was 36 seconds, the Magic tonight on Sunday uploaded to their YouTube channel. I think it's a 6 minute and 36 second highlight reel of defensive plays from this 5-game homestand. It's electric. It's just there are teams that would be their season highlight for defensive plays, and we had it in a 5-game homestand. So impressive. Can I rain on this parade a little bit? One negative thing?
1 second,
really quick,
because you can't help it. Last year, guess how many games in the regular season Jonathan Isaac played more than he did on Friday?
0?
2, and they were the last 2 games of the regular season last year.
I remember us ramping him up. I just wasn't sure if he ever hit 25.
He played 58 regular season games last year. In game 57 for him against Philadelphia, when we were at Philadelphia, he played 26 minutes 48 seconds. And then the last regular season game of the year, he played 26 minutes 9 seconds. Other than that, his season high was 25 minutes 23 seconds. And he played 24:53. So he played, let me redact that. He played 3 games last year in the regular season where he played more minutes than he did tonight. And he played 1 playoff game last season where he played more minutes than he did.
And let's not forget, this is coming off of playing a back-to-back. And Wednesday he played, I think it was 22 minutes on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And so is Jonathan Isaac back? That's no minute restriction type numbers right there.
I will not allow myself to believe that we see Jonathan Isaac for 25 minutes a night.
Right.
Once Wendell is back and Paolo's back, I don't even think you have the minutes to play him that much. Right. But can we get 22 minutes, 22 solid minutes a night? The way that he has been progressing over the last couple of weeks, I'm afraid for the league what our defense looks like with a healthy, in shape, back to form Jonathan Isaac looks for 22 minutes a night.
Yeah. Terrifying. Yeah.
Go ahead, please. Continue with your raining on the parade.
No. I haven't done it yet. It's just, this is more of a question. Okay. This has all been great. Homestand's been great. If there's been one thing that hasn't been great on this homestand, Jalen Suggs shoots 22% from 3 on the homestand. Really struggled. What do we make of that? Is that a worry? Is that a concern? Where are you with that?
It would be silly to totally dismiss it, but I was looking at deflections today, for example, and last year, early in the season, I don't remember exactly where he finished, but towards the beginning of the year, he was top of the league in deflections, right? He's 6th in total steals, which is, obviously a good sign. It checks out and it matches the eye test. But I've been thinking about why it hasn't felt like quite a Jalen Suggs season in terms of him falling to the ground constantly and diving on the floor all the time. He's been diving on the floor when he costs up turnovers, but I mean just in terms of defensively, creating chaos. And he has been doing a good job of that. I'm not trying to say that he hasn't, but I think that him playing so much more of an offensive role, not only this season, but especially since Paolo has gone out, Like Franz is clearly number one. Jalen's basically been like the number two option offensively. I feel like we were already asking him to bite off a lot going into this season fully healthy. And now that we're down Paolo and we're down Wendell, and the fact that like we don't really have I mean, Anthony Black, is he a point guard? It's like, I don't know. Like, is he quite a combo guard? I feel like that's an insult when people say, oh, he's a combo guard, because they're saying, well, you're not really one, you're not really the other. You kind of just do a few things well. But we don't really have like another point guard on the roster outside of AB, and his job right now is to like run the second unit and occasionally come into that starting lineup and help just create chaos defensively. But like Cole struggling, I think has really had an impact on not only the bench unit, but also Jalen Suggs, and not having another guy off the bench that's going to come in and give you a real scoring punch. Jalen is like just bitten off a bit more than he can chew. And I think we're seeing that affect how efficient he's been offensively. Like when Paolo's in the starting unit, like Jalen can really just sort of pick and choose when he's aggressive. And it's just also, he's just getting way better looks from deep at that time. So I'm not saying like, oh, it's nothing, but I also think it's like, there's a good bit of that is pretty circumstantial.
Yeah, and the stats prove that. Like his shooting numbers with Paolo versus without Paolo right now are pretty much night and day. And so obviously he started the season on a heater. He was hitting shots from quite literally all over Central Florida at Kia Center, which is pretty wild. But yeah, for me, I'm not necessarily worried about it. I do think not having Paolo is contributing to that, and so I think once Paolo gets back, those numbers will go up. But we'll definitely need him to shoot the ball better than 22% as he did at home, for this West Coast road trip where, I mean, obviously we're going to need all the offense we can get from anywhere. And so hopefully Jalen can kind of turn it around when we go out West.
Right now I'm pulling up shooting splits. So right now Jalen on the road is shooting 30% from behind the arc and 45% from the floor. At home, Jalen is shooting 30% from the floor and 36% from the floor. So basically the same from deep, but he's actually shooting worse from the floor at home this season. And, the majority of the games without Paolo have come at home. So, yeah. All right. I did want to take a few minutes to just like really talk specifically about the Magic's defense. They aren't, it doesn't feel like they've gotten to the level that they were at last year, where it just felt like on a consistent basis they were playing solid defense. But the ceiling of this team's defense right now is just like so clearly higher than it was last year. I think Anthony Black playing more minutes has a lot to do with that. Jonathan Isaac getting back to form has a lot to do with that. Having just more defenders in the lineup, right? Not as many Cole Anthony minutes. I think, Gary Harris, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Suggs, obviously, like those guys all contributing at a high level. Wanted to just take a couple of minutes and shine some light on the defense and just sort of some of the statistical numbers. So I have quite a few here, and then we can just talk through whichever ones you want. But just be prepared because there is a lot. Right now, they're second in defensive rating, fourth in total steals, fourth in total blocks, sixth in opponent field goal percentage, third in total opponent turnovers, first in opponent points in the paint, first in opponent second chance points, second in total deflections, second in the percentage of loose balls recovered by the defense, third in charges drawn. Some individual stuff here. Jalen Suggs is sixth in total steals. He's second in blocks amongst guards. He's only one block behind the leader, Derek White. Anthony Black is fifth in bench player blocks. Not, there's no kind of like positional qualifier for that. Just in like total bench players, AB is fifth in the league in blocks. JI is ninth in the league in bench player blocks. And out of 5-man lineups in the league, out of all 5-man lineups this year that have played at least 80 minutes together, the lineup of Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Tristan Da Silva, Franz Wagner, and Goga Batadze, who has been the starting lineup for the entirety of this homestand, they are sixth in defensive rating, that lineup. So obviously, like we know that we have a bunch of studs on the bench that can play defense, like Jonathan Isaac and Anthony Black and Gary Harris. but it just shows you like against the very best starting lineups in the league, that defensive unit is basically like the sixth best defensive unit in the entire league. Amongst starters, at least, again,
right.
Playing 18 minutes. I think it's still early in the league, so there's only like 20 of those lineups, but it just goes to show you like both units are playing out of their minds defensively.
Yeah, and it's surprising to me that we haven't caught up to OKC as far as overall defensive rating right now.
I mean, I don't want to be this guy, but like everyone's talking about OKC, everyone is talking about Cleveland. If you look at both of those teams' schedules, like they have had favorable schedules. Like I don't want to crap over, Cleveland, like they're 15-0, but like Toronto, Detroit, Washington, New York, Lakers, Magic, Bucks, Pelicans, Warriors, Nets, Bulls, Sixers, Bulls, Hornets. Like let's not act like they're, playing world beaters every night. And then OKC, when you look at their schedule, right? It's Denver struggled the beginning of the year, the Bulls, the Hawks, the Spurs, the Blazers, the Clippers, the Magic, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Suns, and tonight they're playing Dallas. Like they're fantastic defensively, don't get me wrong. Probably the best defensive team in the league, but like they all just haven't been playing world beaters.
Right, yeah, exactly. And by the way, speaking of schedules, we looked at this beforehand. The Magic have the easiest schedule the rest of the way. Now, got a long way to go, and that's partly because it's completely because the Magic are in the Eastern Conference, and the East is terrible statistically right now. But anyway, back to the defense. I mean, what's weird is like those are all elite numbers, but as I sit here, none of them surprised me. Like, it's just like it lines up, like it matches the eye test. This team has just been absolute maniacs on the defensive end, and at some level, you credit individuals, right? Like Jalen Suggs is just kind of who he is. KCP is just kind of who he is. Gary Harris, great defender. Anthony Black, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this identity that the team has comes from Jamal Mosley. And so just, again, another opportunity to give him some kudos because what he has built, again, a lot of great individual defenders, but some of those guys, maybe not necessarily, but because of this system, because of the, not just the culture, but like the identity that has become the backbone of this team, it all starts and ends with him. And so it's working. And again, we've talked about it many times. It keeps the Magic in games, even when they really shouldn't be. Like the Magic's offense is legitimately bad, people. Like obviously, if you watch this team, it's legitimately bad and the stats back it up. One of the worst in the league. But once again, just like last season, it's the defense that keeps them in games. And as long it's the NBA, if you're in a game down the stretch, anything's possible. And so I just want to credit Jamal Mosley because he's done a terrific job. Again, not just with the defense, but you've been without your all-star for the last, however many games it's been, and now you're on a 5-game win streak. And so credit to him, credit this team. And plus, defense, I think, is really fun. So I'm glad to get to watch this team every night.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for this team, and like at moments where I'm frustrated, it's like I'm almost never frustrated with the offense outside of when it's so clear that threes aren't falling and they just decide to keep settling for those. Where almost always my frustration comes from this team is when they don't defend and they don't rebound at the level that they're capable of. Because when this team decides to lock in for 48 minutes defensively, there's not a team in the league that they can't hang with, and there's not a team in the league that they cannot beat. And when we look at the first, 14 games now, and 8 of those being wins, I really only look at like 4 games and say like overall the defensive performance was actually pretty solid. And that's not a knock on the Magic. They're still the second team in terms of defensive efficiency in the league. But to me, it just speaks to how much room they still have to grow and to improve there and just how good this team can really be. That 14-minute stretch at the end of the Philadelphia game, maybe you can't play at that level for 48 minutes, but if you can play at 70, 80% of that effort for 48 minutes, like not only are teams not going to be scoring 100, teams aren't going to be scoring 90 on some nights if they're able to play at this level. So, yeah, it's just really exciting. To me, just as a general like basketball philosophy, the only things that you really can control are your effort, the way that you defend, and the way that you rebound the basketball. almost everything else is up to chance. You could throw taking care of the basketball and limiting turnovers into that, but most things are out of your control, right? Like getting to the free throw line, knocking down shots, all that kind of stuff. Like there are multiple factors that are out of your control when it comes to that. But just on like a night in and night out basis, Jamal Mosley has talked about this for 3 years. Control what you can control. And when this team does that, they are one of the absolute best teams in the league. And I don't think that's our bias. I don't think that is hyperbole. Like when this team decides like, hey, this team that we're playing is not scoring for however like long. I mean, sure, like the Oklahoma City game, like that ended up sort of, getting out of hand, particularly because of the way that that game started. But without Paolo on the road, that team hung in against Oklahoma City way longer than I think a lot of people had anticipated. And we all came away from that saying like, that's the level of effort that we need to have on a night in, night out basis. That game to me is where it felt like the Magic really started to get back to this level of defense and get back to their identity. Because the first, 2 games without Paolo, they were just kind of searching for everything. They had no idea how to play, which way was up. And, we've said this at times over the course of the last, what has it been, 7 or 8 games without Paolo, saying this might end up being like a blessing in disguise. I think we can 100% say losing Paolo was a blessing in disguise. Maybe not for this season. That the jury is still out on that. The Magic still have plenty of time to get Paolo back and I don't even want to say make noise because they are making noise. They're the 3rd team in the Eastern Conference, but they get Paolo back. Like if we're within striking range of Boston or Cleveland, like you cannot convince me at this point in time that the Magic couldn't reach as high as the 2nd seed in the East with the way that they're playing. If they're able to continue to defend at this level. And mind you, Paolo Banchero got a technical foul on Friday night. Nobody can accuse this guy of like just mailing it in or not caring, while he's rehabbing. Like it's probably killing him seeing this team play at this level and him not being able to be on the floor. If he can come in and just sort of pick up where everybody left off defensively and keep doing what he was doing offensively, and we can get 80% of what Franz Wagner has been doing. Yeah. You cannot convince me on any given night that we are going to lose. Yeah. I'm going to go into every single game feeling like we have a chance to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, that starts with that defense, right? Which Paolo is obviously committed to doing. We've seen that. And so starts with the defense, keeps you in games, and then down the stretches where, things can happen. And yeah, can't wait to get him back. Hopefully it's sometime soon, but we'll see.
Let's wrap this up. Let's talk a little bit about the week ahead, Kevin. So coming up this week, we start tonight, Monday. We're on the road at Phoenix. That game tips off at 9:00. And then we've got like really the first in I can remember, in terms of like these teams not being in the same building. But you've got the LA double where you're at the Clippers on Wednesday. That tips off at 10:30. Then I don't know how far Intuit Dome is from, I'm always going to call it the Staples Center.
Right.
But you've got the Lakers on Thursday at 10:30. I don't remember when these teams were playing in different buildings like years and years and years ago. Like this is going to be a new thing for really all of these guys where, you've got a back-to-back in LA, but you're for the first time in forever, you're not going to be in the same locker room. So that's going to be exciting. And then they come home on Saturday versus Detroit to wrap up the week.
And I'm excited. The Magic play their first game in Intuit Dome on Wednesday. Right. I'm pumped about that. But joking aside, this is a tough stretch, right? Like anytime you go out west, that's always going to be tough. Tough travel schedule, time zone change, all that kind of stuff. The Magic are in some ways given a little bit of a break this week, right? Because you're playing Phoenix without Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal is going to be out for that game. Still very difficult game, right? Phoenix very good. Devin Booker very good. They also choked today against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like led almost the entire game, and Julius Randle hits a triple at the buzzer to beat him. So they lost today. They'll be on a second night of a back-to-back though. So you get another break. The Magic, pretty much got to Phoenix, definitely got to Phoenix today before Phoenix did, right? Because they're coming from Minnesota. So you have that. Wednesday, you play the Clippers. The Clippers are not playing well. They've lost 3 in a row. Now, right now, as we speak, they're playing the Jazz, so more than likely they're going to beat the Jazz. But then they have a back-to-back. They play Golden State tomorrow, and so the game Wednesday will be their third game in 4 nights. Then you have the Lakers. Now, obviously, that's a back-to-back for the Magic, and it's not for the Lakers. Now, the Lakers are tough because they're actually winning right now. They won 5 in a row as we're talking, and the only game they play between now and Thursday is the Jazz. Okay, so more than likely, there's a good chance they'll have a 6-game win streak going to that game Thursday. So very difficult stretch for the Magic this week. For all the people saying, hey, cupcake home schedule over this 5-game stand, I would love nothing more than for the Magic to kind of prove them wrong with some really quality wins on the road out west before they come home to play the Pistons, who, by the way, are they're a game under 500. Okay, this is not last season's Detroit Pistons. It's a pretty good basketball team that'll cause some troubles for the Magic. Do you have a prediction for the week, Jonathan, for these 4 games?
I'm going to go 2-2. I don't really know where the 2-2 are going to come from. I think we'll beat the Pistons because, not that, it's the Pistons, but like just the way that the Magic play at home.
Right.
Until they lose at home, I'm not going to pick them to lose at home.
Yeah.
And then I think you'll beat Phoenix on Monday, and then it's just hard for me to pick the Magic to with everything that's happening right now and the way that we've seen them perform on the road this year. Until they prove me wrong, I'm not super confident going into a road trip. So I'll say you lose Wednesday and you lose Thursday to both LA teams. So you start in the week with wins.
My head says 2-2, but I'm going to go with my heart, which says 3-1.
I like that. Okay.
I think the Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers meet up on Thursday with a 7-game and 6-game win streaks head to head. I think the Magic beat Phoenix and beat the Clippers on Wednesday. They do lose to the Lakers on the second night of back-to-back. And then they do beat the Pistons on Saturday. You can't lose at home and in the debut of the city jerseys, right? You can't.
Right.
That's just not allowed. So just don't do that, please, Orlando. But yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 just because I'm feeling spicy.
And again, like every single one of these games, I go into them feeling like we have a chance to win.
Yeah.
According to like ESPN Bet right now, Phoenix is like 1.5 favorites. So, that's not really much of a home court advantage. That's kind of just like a pick 'em, sort of situation. So again, no Kevin Durant, no Bradley Beal. Magic are going to be a little bit more rested than Phoenix. So looking forward to this week though. Want to get some more wins, keep the momentum going. And then hopefully, just like keeping our fingers crossed for a positive Paolo Banchero update, in the next, let's see. So it was Halloween. So it's almost been 3 weeks. Like Thursday will be 3 weeks. So maybe, another week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe we'll get an update on Paolo Banchero. If the longer we go without an update, the less optimism I will have, because if he's anywhere near like getting a return, I think we'll get an update. Even if they do actually evaluate him in 4 weeks and it's like, let's see how you look in another couple of weeks, they may like reevaluate him. I mean, they're constantly reevaluating him at this point. The reevaluation is really just for like a media update. But they may say, let's wait until that 6-week mark to, give everybody an update and see what's going on there. But all right, Kev, I think that's going to do it for this one. Good stuff. We had to hype up Franz, Wagner, obviously talk about the great job that this team is doing defensively. And yeah, would love to keep the win streak going. For anybody that's asking about Luke Silvia's nipples after the 5-game win streak, which has just become like a staple of 5-game win streaks, unfortunately, Luke is retiring the nipples. And we all have to just accept that and move on with our lives. Kevin and I thought about, maybe it's Kevin's nipples, maybe it's my nipples moving forward, but it would just feel forced. It wouldn't feel right.
Yep.
That's Luke's thing. And, we'll always have Luke's nipples.
Hey, so. And, yes, they'll always be in our minds and in our hearts and in our nightmares. But also, he has promised when the NBA championship comes, so will the nipples. Okay. So right. There might be no clothes left on him when that happens.
That's fair.
So yeah.
That's fair.
Let's end the show now.
All right, let's wrap it up. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!